I'm Tamara Zoner. Welcome to Spirit Cafe. Come in, sit down, and grab a cup of love. Hello, Spirit Cafe listeners. Do we have a show for you? Do I sound like John? I would have to do more like, hello, Spirit Cafe. This is not John Davis. But I'm going to introduce the John of gesturing, the Jekyll of Hyde. I'm not
the Jekyll of Hyde.
I mean, you have many personalities. So
I'm schizophrenic. Yeah, no, we're not. Yes, we are. Shut up.
How are you doing, John?
I'm having a morning where I woke up late. I haven't had enough coffee, and I'm playing with new tech. So life is good. Life is good. How are you?
I'm delirious, obviously. As usual, John's just like, you want to do something different, Sam? Well, let's do something different. You start. And I'm like, oh no, I don't have all of John's alliterations ready.
Well, make it your own, woman. Make it your own. You got this.
Making it my own, people. All right, you want to tell our listeners and viewers about our fabulous guest today?
Well, I am very excited about our guest today. Our guest is got so many skills and techniques and things, and she's created some amazing things. And let me just read right off of her website, because I'm not a plagiarist. I'm just actually going to read what she wrote anyway. Isabeau BEAU Maxwell is one of the leading spiritual coaches in intuitive development today. Isabeau brings deep channeled knowledge and personal understanding to the field of spirituality. She has helped people connect with their authentic, natural, intuitive abilities for over 15 years and is the founder of the award-winning intuitive development course, The Sage Method, the author of the best-selling book, Cracking Open, Adventures of a Reluctant Medium, and the creator of the popular online community, The Sage Method. I'm very excited to welcome Isabeau Maxwell to the show. Hello, Beau. How are you?
Hello, I am fantastic. I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome.
Well, yeah. We've been looking forward to it as well. And when I looked at your channel, your website, I was like, wow, this is the perfect guest. And of course, she has the name from Lady Hawk, so I gotta love her.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about BEAU Maxwell and what you do and just tell us about you.
Well, we can start now, go backwards. Today, I am really focused on helping people open up their intuition and use it in their day-to-day lives. You know, there's every now and then there's somebody that comes through that's just amazing and is going to go out there professionally, and I love working with them. But for the most part, I'm working with people to use their intuition for their own guidance, which has just been awesome. For many of the years here, I was a professional medium where I did reading sessions, cleared spirits that were stuck. That's mostly my main hands-on kind of work. And then if you go back to 2005, August 7th, 2005.
Specifically, around that time.
Yeah, just right around that time. I'm just being kind of vague there, but
1:32 p.m.
1:32 p.m. Yeah, about 4 minutes after I finished lunch. I was actually a complete skeptic. Complete 100% skeptic. I wouldn't say that I was an active skeptic, I wasn't trying to prove anything wrong. It just wasn't in my equation. Right. I have a math degree from college. I ran businesses. 1 + 1 is 2. Spirituality wasn't around. Religion wasn't around. None of it. And I chuckle now because psychics were frauds, and here I am. It's like a funny joke. So it was an interesting transition. My grandmother passed away, actually August 9th. So my dates are a little off there, but anyway, she passed away in 2005, and within an hour or so, she actually made an appearance in my living room, and she was about 70% solid, which really freaked me out. To be honest, it really freaked me out. And then I started searching and saying, okay, I kind of, as the kid in me, kind of wants my grandma to really still be there. So I'm going to explore this to see if it's real. And turns out it was.
Mm,
Wow.
mm.
So
You
here I am today.
know, that's amazing. What I like about your story is the fact that you were a skeptic, because
Yeah.
I was a raised Catholic skeptic about everything, and it took the spiritual 2x4 to smack me over the head about 20 times before I was like, all right, I'll look into it, right? and and I had the kind of the similar experience in that after my cousin committed suicide, he partially appeared to me in a room as well. So I totally get that.
I can relate. Yeah, and you don't forget it, do you? It's like
No.
it's imprinted in your mind. I've got a horrible memory, to be honest with you, but that moment is just, it's vivid, and I'll
Indelible.
never forget it. She was standing sideways and she turned and looked at me and she winked and smiled. And at the time, it was just fear, right? Because the
Yeah.
only thing I had seen was from, horror movies, like, and this stuff isn't real. So I'm obviously in one. And but now that I look back on it, she was just being cheeky. She was like, do I get to tell her? Do I get to tell her? How fun is this going to be? Right. And it's like, oh, you funny lady. Cause she was really sassy. So,
Mm.
So how did you how was the aftermath of that first experience? Like how did you come to terms with this new awareness of yours?
well, um, I was raised to sit in the corner and not bother a soul. So I said nothing to, I just shut it down and said, okay, this is grief. This is grief just showing itself, and none of this is real. The next morning, my husband, who also was pretty solidly skeptic, I mean, both of us were raised Christian and things like that, but he woke up and he said, wow, I had the strangest dream about your grandmother last night. It was really real. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, she was wearing this blue button down shirt. And I just froze because he described what she was wearing when she showed up in the living room the night before.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, all right. So that's a coincidence. But I shared it with him, and he was the first one I said something. But I kept it to myself for a long time until I could figure out if it was real or not. Because I was so afraid of what people would think of me.
It's interesting how you use the word coincidence, because a lot of people will write off their spiritual experiences as coincidence or imagination or something like that. And once you've had the experience, you're like, oh no, you can't deny it, right? Especially because
Yeah.
for when like I'm sure as a medium, you're now getting messages as well,
Yeah.
right? And when Carlos first came to me, Carlos was my cousin. He came to me. He told me that I'm supposed to tell his mother that he's in a better place because he committed suicide. And I walk up to his mother and I said, I saw Carlos last night. And she said, before I could ask anything, she said, is he in a better place? She actually asked the question he wanted answers for. So,
Oh,
so to me, it was like that was exactly why I was supposed to be in that moment the medium for her, so she could
and
get to.
he knew you would be able to speak with her.
Yeah, yeah. And it was really interesting how divine it was, because we were in my mom's house and mom was at the church and my father was on the golf course and my aunt and I were the only ones in the house. And it
Yeah.
just happened to turn out that way. She was visiting for some reason and it just bam turned out that way. It was perfectly timed. Imagine.
Imagine that. Imagine that they have perfect timing and they know
Imagine
what's
that.
best for all of us. Isn't that cool to think about?
It is. It totally is cool.
Yeah.
So
It's a very impactful moment. And it was difficult for me to share with people, but I approached it kind of scientifically, to be honest. I was like, all right, this needs to be true, or I need to get some help. I've got two small kids that I'm raising. I've got to, like, get balanced here, and my grief can't, overtake my life. So, but she just kept coming back with proof and proof and more proof. I did find this really cool person, Tai Chi instructor, gentleman. And when you're in your circles, and no one in your circles is spiritual or religious or anything like this, you don't really have anyone to go to, which is why it's why I created the online community. It's why I've tried to gather people together and encourage these friendships, even if they're long distance, just so you have someone to talk to. But I didn't have anyone. So I remember going down, I knew a Tai Chi instructor, and I remember going to him and saying, "Hey, Chris, you're like the strangest person I know. So could you help me?" And, this man gets credit. Like, he gets credit for being kind to the lady that walked in and said that to him. And he was so kind to me. And he helped me with yes to no answers and starting to feel intuition in your body and, things like that. And it's because of him that I started to be able to communicate with her. So I was really grateful. I was really grateful. But wow, it's interesting. And John, have you ever run into somebody? Actually, I'm sure both of you have, where you run into someone and they say, "Well, I don't believe in that." And then they always follow it up with, "But there was this one time," right? That's what I ran into over and over again.
All the time.
All the time.
And it's odd because in my I come from a very big Catholic family. We have a total of 7 kids in the family. I'm number 6 of 7. And myself and one of my sisters, who is not the sister that Tamara knows, that's a different sister. We seem to be the ones who are open to it, and we get the visits. When my father died, he visited my sister, right? And what's interesting is we both took it in different ways. I went off and I really delved deep into my spirituality, and I started studying everything I could and my sister found the drink and found alcohol, and she went the other direction. And still to this day, she doesn't, because of the fact that she's medicating her fear of it. She doesn't know if it's real or not. She hasn't come to embrace it and hold it, and I think that's one of the things that's beautiful about your story is that you obviously had a situation where you could have easily gone down a fear route, and you could have gone into this space of this is terrible, and my mind's going to go, and I'm going to start. I don't want to look at this. I'm going to drink or whatever. And instead, you went, okay, I got to figure out what this is, because I have responsibilities for my children, and I have, and I don't want to be crazy, So, but one of the things I think carries you through the whole process, which I think is just beautiful, is your laugh. You laugh at everything, and I love that. It's one of my favorite things.
I mean, I totally do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, I tend to laugh every now and then. No, yeah, it's I tell people all the time, I didn't know really where I was at before this happened. I didn't really have a gauge or a judgment on my happiness quota, really. John, I'm the opposite of you. I was an only child. Insert every joke you want there. I agree with them all. And I totally do. And I didn't have a whole lot of people in my life to be able to kind of measure up against, really. And opening up spiritually, it forces you to look at things in a different manner, and force might even be a harsh word. It invites you to look at people differently and start to understand who we really are, that we're these beautiful souls that are playing a role. Do you know what I mean? Like, it shifts you, and it opens you up to understanding it at a deeper level. And then you have no choice but welcoming in more compassion into your life. Then with compassion comes this awareness of like, wait a minute, I'm having a life. And then all of a sudden you can get excited about it. And, so yeah, I laugh constantly. I am goofy as all get out. Like, all that stuff has been able to come out, and I've been able to thrive. And I love my life now. I didn't even know how far apart I was from being able to really wake up every day and be like, yes, what's going to happen today? And that's where I'm at. And I'm so grateful.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. It's funny, coming from a very Catholic background. My mother had her master's degree in liturgy. I found over the course of the time that not only did I have to open up and laugh more to get more connected. And I found that the more connected I was, the more I laughed. And but I also found that the more religious dogma I stripped away, the more connected I was. And I think that the religious dogma of the world today is all based in fear, and I think fear is the fog that lets us not see. It's the thing that makes the veil thicker. And in Sufism, they talk about God on one side of a veil and we're on the other side of the veil, and the veil is our fear and our life is our struggle against the veil. And in that regard, it's fascinating because the less fear I had, the clearer I was. So it just kind of made more sense. And did you find the same for you?
I do. I'm pretty fearless.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a fault, and I kind of always have been. I was the first. I'm the first one to jump off the cliff, and I'm screaming at you on my way down. This is awesome! Come on, so I'm that person. So I've always been fearless in that regard, but I think I stayed away from religion because, I was Methodist. I went through what's that called? Confirmation. I had a really bad experience with the pastor. He didn't like me. We'll just say that, insert only children joke in there again. I get it. I understand, but I was 14. Come on. You know what I mean? But it was not a fun place for me to show up when the person leading it, just didn't like you. So it wasn't a great experience for me. And I pushed away from it because I couldn't make sense of it. And, moving forward now, I'm actually pausing because I got to share something with the two of you. Timing is so perfect, isn't it? So here's the thing. We were traveling yesterday, and we're traveling through the southern states of the United States. And we were driving through southern Georgia. You can look this up, but literally this happened yesterday. Driving through southern Georgia, I passed 3 billboards that were about religion, and it was about Jesus. And there's a lot of billboards down here, and a lot of them are very loving, and I've got a pretty balanced, I think, opinion on religion, but some or not. And these 3 billboards, all you have to do is Google Jesus zombie billboard, you'll find it. Oh yeah. I could not believe what I saw. It was so much fear. The first one was combat was in the background, and then Jesus was there, and the message was, I'm still in control. The next message was literally zombies on one side of the billboard, Jesus on the other, and saying, choose the living. And I was floored because I thought, this is fear-based religion put up on I've never seen that kind of blatant fear on a billboard. And I was just struck, and I was listening to you just now thinking, wow, the timing is interesting, because I literally saw that yesterday.
Right
now, to be real clear, I have people who are in religion, and they have a congregation, and it's healthy and supportive and
absolutely
and loving and accepting, right? So I can't, say poo-poo to all of it, but the fear-based stuff scares me.
Well,
it really scares me.
The paradigm itself, the structure of a religion, is designed to keep you in fear. And it's like, for instance, and I'll run through this quick, but Catholicism, you're born in sin. So you're born as a nasty person. I don't know anybody who's ever held their newborn child and said, "Oh, you're a nasty sinner." No one ever said that, ever. They said, "I love my child," right? So why are they born in sin? They're born in sin so that the parents can indoctrinate them into the religion very quickly by using baptism, right? So that's specifically why. And then when they start to get cognitive reasoning and start to think about age 13, they go and get confirmation. They have to confirm that they want to stay in that religion, right? And then once the confirmation is done, they're given this new thing called, in the Catholic Church, called confession. And, you can do bad things, but there's only one place you can get absolved, and it's here at the church. In other words, it's just like a drug dealer, first one's free, and then suddenly you're like, okay, now you're getting to the point where you're starting to find boyfriends or girlfriends interesting. So you can either choose to be a priest or a nun, or you can get married, because that's in the church. You have to get married. And once you get married, you can't divorce, because your job is to create more Catholics to have an original sin to start this cycle over again. So, I mean, it literally is keep you in fear the entire time so that we can continue to grow. And to me, it's so fascinating, because when you really think about what fear really is when you break it down fully, it's negatively focused uncertainty. Because fear, it's an emotional reaction to a future event that may or may not happen with you focused on a negative outcome. Right?
Exactly.
And so it's like, it doesn't even exist in the present moment. It's rooted somewhere else.
Exactly. And we teach that in spirituality too. When you're stewing about something in the future that could happen negatively, you're thinking about something that isn't real.
Right.
It's not even a reality yet. And so you're allowing yourself, sometimes on a cellular level, to fear what might come. And how many times does that ever really show up?
Right.
Right. And that uncertainty is, it can be crippling and paralyzing, and it can hold you still. And then here is a support for you to hold on to. And I think that that's really, it's really unfortunate.
Right. And if you believe in manifestation at all, if you're focused on a negative outcome, you're probably going to get it.
Exactly. Exactly. I tell my students all the time, you're manifesting constantly. So when you come to, like, if you find a manifesting class and you're like, oh, I'm going to start manifesting, the first thing I say in my class is, you've been manifesting all along. So let's shift gears, right? Let's try to change, the direction of what you're creating. And we're human, we all have those human days. And I've got days where I catch myself stewing about something coming up. It's like a family function. Awesome. Here we go. This is going to be fun. And then I have to remind myself, no, it's not even real. The scenarios that I'm creating aren't even real.
Right.
They haven't happened yet. And the bottom line is, if I could help someone do anything, it would be two things. It would be to find a direct connection to their source, to their, if it's the Christ energy that they relate to, have a direct connection to it. Do you know what I mean? Talk to him. He's right there. If it's, Buddha, loved ones, guides, source, spirit, it doesn't matter. We're all climbing the mountain on a different path. We're all going to get there, right? So enjoy your path. If this person over here has stopped on their path, has turned to you and is screaming at you that you're on your wrong path, feel for them, love them, keep walking up your path. You know what I mean? So, and then to this person over here that's screaming on the path, stop. Like, just climb your path. It's okay. Not everybody has to be on your path. Then furthermore, if you follow someone too close up the path, I don't know if you've hiked before, that's not a great view. So just go up your own path, right? Celebrate everybody on their paths and go up that path and thrive. Have that direct connection. And the second thing would be, find people here and now that show up for you. That's it. That just show up for you. That don't brush you off. They don't blow you off. They don't label you or, decide that you're less than for reasons A, B, or C. Show up for people that show up for you. And that's where you start to build the community that allows you to be all of you.
Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful. So for those people who are just starting off on their path and you're saying, form a direct connection. For some people, that doesn't feel easy. So what do you suggest to them? How does one form that direct connection to the yada yada, as John and I like to call it?
Yada yada. I think that's so great.
I got tired of saying all the words that people could use.
God, universe, consciousness, yada yada.
Okay, yada yada. All right. Well, you let me know if you copyright that, because in the meantime, I'm using that. That is great. All yada yada. Because I say, guys, loved ones, source, universe. You can tell I've said it many times because I've got people all over the globe. So I've got to, want to make sure everyone understands their path is perfect. But I actually have 2 tips that I love. And I tell people, just try these for like a week, right? And the first one is recognizing your energetic body. We've got a physical body we've got a spiritual body, and we've got what I call the programming mind, which is that linear brain that's on time, this linear time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's that fear-based kind of fight or flight thing.
Right.
But our spiritual body is our energetic body, and the spiritual body can expand outside of the physical body, but we don't tend to take care of it. So when somebody comes up in a grocery store parking lot and yells at you, the energy of that anger has hit your spiritual body, your energy body, long before it ever hits your ears, long before you ever even hear the words. So this is why we react. This is why we're reactive. This is why at night we lay down and we stew, and it's because the energy goes into our system before our physical five senses actually experience it. So I tell people, do something like ground, clear, protect. Ground yourself. Just imagine yourself grounding into Mother Earth. Clear out all the old crap, just think about all the old stuff leaving, and then put like a filtering protective bubble around you that says, hey, what's supposed to come in can come in, what's not cannot. Now that's a really short version of the explanation of it, but I feel like your listeners kind of already know so much of those pieces that they'll be able to put that together. But ground, clear, protect. Angry person comes up to you in a parking lot, anger comes at you, it stops here. It stops like 2 feet in front of you, or however far in front of you. And you can then make a conscious decision on how you're going to answer the situation instead of answering it with the energy already within you. This is the first thing I tell people to do. Try it for a week. You will fabulously freak yourself out. You will be like, wow, first off, things are going better. My manifesting is getting more accurate. Because everything that's in here is me and not anyone else's. I'm not tired. I can fall asleep at night. Just do it for a week and start to watch some of the benefits. And really what this is an extension of our parents and our supervisors and loved ones and whoever was trying to help us. It's an extension of taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. We know to take care of our physical body, but many people weren't taught to take care of all of that. So take care of your energetic body and watch for a week, see what happens. The other thing, and I love this tip because it's one of these tools that I remember when I heard it, I went, oh, it just clicks when you hear it. When we're looking for the connection with yada, yada, love that, with yada, yada, whatever yada, yada is for you, it's not in the physical. And this is kind of a human mind trick that we've, kind of practiced ourselves into, but we focus on the physical. And it's when we let go of the physical and defocus that we can actually start to feel, hear, see, sense that source around us. And I explain it this way. When you see something out of the corner of your eye, because almost everyone I've ever met has seen something out of the corner of their eye, and then they've turned to find it and they couldn't find it. What's happening there is out of the corner of your eye is your peripheral. Your peripheral is defocused. It's the defocus is actually focused in between the material world, which is where all of this connection is. So when you turn to search for it, your human eyes landed on a table, on a door, on a wall, and you focused back into the material world, which is why you couldn't see what was out of the corner of your eye. Spooky, it's still there. I'm just kidding. I don't mean that in a bad way. But I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I couldn't help myself, right? Couldn't help myself. So whatever you saw, it's still there. You just can't see it because you're now focused on the material. So I tell people, defocus. Whether that's staring into a candle. You can even, it's so simple. Sit 4 feet away from a wall and put your focus in the point between you and the wall. Just allow everything to kind of melt away, because it's what's in between that you're trying to connect to, whatever that is, your loved ones, your guides, and we go to the yada yada. That's how you can connect, and then stay super open, like however it comes through, because everyone's different.
Those are some good tips. Those are juicy.
Great.
Aren't they juicy? They're fun to play with too.
Yeah.
Well, I love the out of focus thing, because ever since my first big spiritual experience, long before my personal story took off, I have, when I look at a wall, what I see is dots. I don't see the color of the wall. I see all the dots that make up that color, right? And then Einstein says that everything you see is nothing but pure energy, and it's actually just an energy event. And then I came to the realization that not only is that wall pure energy, but the air in between is pure energy, and my eyes are also pure energy. And so what am I? Nothing but consciousness. And so by coming to the space where I am sitting in that space of just nothing but consciousness, I then am able to connect directly to the consciousness of the yada yada, and get more information and get, allow the individualities within the consciousness to come speak with me as well. In Hinduism, it's God, the consciousness of God is called the Sit, and we are considered the Sit Sat Ki, the individual sparks within that consciousness. And so, like, as a medium, you're connecting with the individual sparks within the consciousness of God, and it's coming through and with very specific information as a medium. But it's also, that is the space where you go into the consciousness element. I often tell people, when you get into your mind and you start thinking about what that wall is, you're gonna solidify that wall. And when you get into the space of going, I just feel this expression coming through me. I often say God speaks in feelings, not thinkings. And when you get into that space of feeling it, then you start to get real information. And I don't know if you've had this experience. I'd love to hear your answer to this one. I do private sessions all day long, and the yada yada speaks to me in very funny ways sometimes. To give you an example, the other day I was doing a session, and when I do a session, an hour before I do one, I sit down and I do a full channel writing for them. And when I'm writing, I was writing this one the other day, and I kept hearing, "Truly scrumptious. You're truly scrumptious." And then I kept writing, and then I heard "choochie face," and I was like, and then I get on the call with the lady, and I'm talking to the lady, and I'm like, all right, if I said you're truly scrumptious, what would that? And she started laughing, right? I said, and can I call you Choochie Face? And she started laughing again, right? and then I said, then in the bottom of the writing, there was this thing that was about spirituality, but it was written from a scientific perspective. It talks about all empirical evidence being found in the illusion of belief, basically. And I read it and I was like, I don't know exactly why this is coming through. Well, it was literally a line from her dead husband's book. Was the action. So and he used to sing "You're Truly Scrumptious" from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and called her Choochie Face. So it's like, but when you step into that space, you have to step into that. When I do those channel writings, I do exactly what you said. I just let go of all the world, and I just, whatever comes through, I don't judge it. I don't do any of that stuff, and it just comes through. And I love what you said about that space in between, because to me it really is the space in between, and it is realizing that all of this is the illusion of belief, and that we can set the belief side apart and find the connection.
Absolutely. And you couldn't have said it any better. It's the material world is built within source. It's not a location. We didn't get sent over somewhere. It's all right here.
Right.
And so I like to call what you're talking about, for the way that I say it for myself, is that I let go of the agreed upon reality.
There you go.
I let go of the agreed upon reality. We all agree that it's a camera, that's a light, that's like, and let it all fade away. The other thing that you expressed, that I try to tell so many people as an intuitive, when it's coming through, just say what you see, feel, and hear. Yep. Just say what you see, feel, and hear, because the messages that you think, what, are probably the ones that are the most accurate.
And the messages aren't for you. They're for the person you're talking to.
Exactly. They're for the person you're talking to. And I have like the best analogy that's only going to last maybe another year. But do y'all remember telephone cords where they were like plugged into the house? Okay. I have to find a better analogy, because the further we get along with this, the more people are like, no. But we're telephone cords. We're telephone cords. And a sister talks to a sister. You're the telephone cord. The telephone cord isn't like, well, I think it means this, and I think it should, you know, and I really think that, you know, there's no, I think there's no, you know, opinion in there. And what you're doing so perfectly is exactly that. Just saying, this is what's coming through.
Well,
and that's where the really amazing messages come through.
And, you know, the word channel or channeling comes from a sailing thing. It's, you have two bodies of water, and there's a strip of land, and in that land there's a channel that goes from one body of the water to the other body of the water. So if you imagine if one giant body of the water is the universal consciousness of yada yada, and then your physical world is the other body of water, the channel in between is the place where the information flows.
Yeah, see, ooh, I could start to use something like that, because then
steal it. Feel free.
Water. Just let something better than a telephone cord, John. Seriously, because I'm outdating myself.
Well, there you go. I just gave you a new. But I remember the miracle of pagers. Don't get me wrong.
I remember my first answering machine.
I was just talking about an answering machine last night with a group, and there was one guy who's in his early 20s, and I was like, "You probably don't know what that is," but it's like, wait now.
And you don't know what it is for your entire family to gather around the dining room table, right, with the wicker chairs, and spend an hour recording it over and over, right, with one parent yelling at the other parent that they're not funny or witty enough, and you're just like, how can this be done? Yeah, that was my experience, but I remember it. It was fun.
Well, as you can probably tell, Tamara and I had a great time with BEAU Maxwell, and we had such a good time that it ended up taking more than an hour. So we're breaking this episode up into 2 parts, and this is the end of part 1. But next Monday, you'll hear part 2. And in part 2, you'll actually hear her do some of her mediumship. She'll actually channel one of Tamara's ancestors for her. And it was that really perfect information that came through, and we laughed and we joked. And there's a big announcement at the end of next week's episode. So come on back, and we will see you then. See ya. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Spirit Cafe. Please leave all comments on our Spirit Cafe Facebook page or in the comments below our YouTube videos.